Hey everyone, Scott here again, and welcome back to this third video in the Overcome Knee Pain series. Perhaps you're someone who has just a little difficulty with your knees. We're going to get into some practical things here, and I'm excited to get started, so let's go. First, let's talk about the tension that we carry in all of our joints. I'm going to give a little demonstration here. I'm going to turn to the side, and we're going to hold up the fist like this. Now I'm going to tighten my fist up. Tighten it up. All right, and then I'm going to let go. And you can see that there's a change in the shape of my hands. But if you'll watch carefully, watch the bones in the wrist. And if you're watching the wrist, you can see a little bit of movement there. And it's just a visual demonstration of the fact that there can be more or less space in the joints and that we can improve that to a certain extent. So I'm going to have you stand up and we'll do a little bit of walking. So first, let's just go ahead and stand on your feet and see how your weight feels on your 2 feet. Maybe it feels different on one side than the other. Maybe your hips feel kind of level, or maybe one side feels a little bit tighter or higher or lower than the other. And maybe one knee feels a little bit different than the other. So let's walk a little bit and just don't try to change anything, just walk and see how that feels. What does it feel like through the ankles, through the feet, through the knees, the hips? What does that feel like? Again, don't try to change it. Now, could you sit in a chair? Both feet are flat on the floor. And maybe you can take your 2 hands and you can use no real pressure. You just explore lightly with your fingertips. See if you can feel the kneecap, right? The thigh muscles. Down here, the sharp bone in the front, that's your tibia. If you work your way gently, gently up to the top of that, you can feel the space in the knee joint there. Be gentle and just explore. And then if you take your fingers right there, without being in a hurry, and you come around to the sides here, very slowly, you're going to be able to feel the knee joint. And you'll feel the spacing between the femur up here and the tibia down here. You can actually feel that. Good. So now let's go ahead and just take your hand. We talked about the forces of the weight-bearing loads when you do something, when you stand or walk, coming through the center of the knee joint. So maybe you can feel where the center of the fibula is, right? And then you can come down, no pressure. You're just exploring and imagining. So you imagine you can actually, your fingers almost like an x-ray. And you can just feel where the center of the femur is, the thigh bone. Come down right to the center of the tibia. And you follow the forces right through the center of the knee joint. Right? And you feel, again, the lighter you do this, the easier it will be to actually feel the space between the joint here. And you can feel it in the front. You reach the top of the tibia, and there's a little space there. And then you just stroke down the knee a little bit. Right? And again, down the center of the joint. And could you pick up one foot, right? And you put it back on the floor. And as you begin to contact the floor, see what part of your foot contacts the floor first. and how you settle your weight onto the floor. Use your imagination and just see if your foot contacts the floor in such a way that if you push through the floor, you'd be pushing up somehow in a comfortable way through the knee joint. And maybe if you were going to get up, you might spread your feet just a little bit. And you come and you get up. And you imagine that weight coming through the center of the knee joint. Sit back down. Now, I'm going to go ahead and pick up my foot, my lower leg, and I'm going to see if I can imagine that the knee hanging like this is increasing that joint space. All right? So we're just imagining, we're just exploring, imagining. We felt where the joint was. Go ahead and kind of bring your hand down and notice where the joint is. And notice that the spacing in the joint, if you are imagining, can seem to get much bigger. Right? And you can tell you're relaxed. Maybe you do a very slight movement. Maybe you can see if your foot actually is relaxed. Because we want the muscles here in the front of your leg to be relaxed as well. We won't worry about the muscles above your leg because I'm just actually holding on to my leg now. So put that down gently. And go ahead and explore the other side. So you come down into the center of that knee joint. Come back down. Back up. Right? Right into the center of the joint. And feel where your foot is on the floor. And imagine that the weight-bearing loads are passing through the center of the knee joint, down the tibia, into the ankle, somehow in the center of the ankle. Actually, when we use the arch, will be sometimes on the outside of the foot a little bit. But we want the loads to pass right through the knee joint, through the center, through the whole knee joint. So go ahead and stroke it down like that. And you feel the width of the knee joint. The knee joint is, in terms of surface area, the largest joint in the body. So it's kind of wide. This is much wider than. So let's go ahead and stand up again. In this case, I've got a chair here because I'm going to take balance out of the picture. I'm going to lightly rest my hand on the chair, and I'm going to pick up one knee. So we're going to pick it up, and you can see I'm going to try to hold it relaxed enough that I can actually shake my foot out a little bit so that these muscles are relaxed. And then I'm going to put this back down on the floor in the gentlest way that I can, coming up onto my arch and standing on the foot. And I want to have a feeling that the forces are passing through the center of the knee joint, but also the forces are not just passing through the center of the knee joint this way, but in terms of this movement, we have some kind of a feeling of the forces passing through the center of the knee joint front to back also. So see, just play with that a little bit. You stand on one foot, and you feel your bones supporting you. See, I'm on this foot here. Excuse me. I'm on this foot here. And then I'm on this foot here. Things get kind of reversed in the camera. Okay. So you just go back and forth very, very slowly between one foot and the other. And then occasionally you'll pick up the knee and just feel that joint space getting bigger. Bigger. Imagine it getting bigger. And even the weight of the lower leg is actually helping you imagine the joint space is getting bigger. All right. So, up, up, down. All right. Now, and simply walk forward and backward and try to maintain just the imagination of the joint spaces being a little bit larger, a little less compressed, a little bit easier. And this applies, of course, to your hip joint and your ankle as well. So actually just that focus on a little bit more relaxation through the system and a little bit more joint space because you're not holding yourself so tense. And if you'll play with this, I think you'll really enjoy it. You can play with this, and you can play with, during the next few days, bringing this into your walking and running if you do that, or even into your hiking. So play around with these movements, play around with the imagination, and bring this into your daily life for a few days. And remember, if you got any value from this video, please hit the like button. Please subscribe. That'll help us out a lot, help us keep this channel going. And we will see you with some more movements in the next video. Thank you again, everyone.